Alrighty. Hey guys, it's Cam back with another video. Aaron alongside me, and this is part two of our two video day. It's a real treat, I think, right, Aaron?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Happy to be here.
So this is the Asian Cup predictions one. I think we're both excited. There's only what 3 weeks left, maybe a little bit more, but before the tournament starts.
Yeah, yeah. I think 3 weeks is correct. Can't
Yeah,
remember the exact start date.
yeah,
But yeah, getting very close now.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And then, I'm sure as the tournament goes on, we'll have some videos about potential matches or potential updates in the tournament. I think, should be fun. If there's any exciting matches that we want to talk about, we'll be sure to bring that to you guys. Um, so I think it'll be good, Aaron, if you want to start off. These are your predictions from last video, and we don't really have to, go over, all the predictions because we did that in the last one. But what do you think about your predictions? What do you think if, you were to make any changes? And how do you feel, about your bracket? So I think that's a good place to start off.
Yeah, sounds good. So I actually went ahead and made a bunch of changes to my bracket.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Um,
Appreciate it.
so yeah, I don't remember all the changes that I made, but starting with Group A, I have Qatar, Tajikistan in second, China in third, and Lebanon in fourth. So yeah, I think Tajikistan and China are kind of trending in the opposite directions. I think overall, you would expect China to beat Tajikistan, but I think Tajikistan have a lot of young talent right now, and China are kind of going with a lot more older and experienced players. So I think head to head, Tajikistan might have more energy and more attacking talent at their disposal, and I think that edges China at the moment.
Uh,
And
yeah.
yeah, one thing I wanted to point out about Tajikistan is that they have three players from the U17 World Cup team from 2019. Uh, they, I remember in the 2018 U16 Asian Cup, they finished runners up, losing 1-0 to Japan. And so that was a huge accomplishment for their youth. And I think, and they showed a decent performance at the World Cup as well. So having sort of three players from that team make the national team now and still only like 21 years old, I think they're kind of building a pretty solid new generation for them. So I think that's why I picked them as second over China.
I think that's fair. Taking a look back at Tajikistan's last results, we obviously talked about their tie with Jordan and their 6-1 win over Pakistan. For me, at the CONFA Nations Cup, the thing that disappointed me was the 5-1 loss to Uzbekistan. However, they did tie Oman and they did tie Turkmenistan. So not bad overall. Obviously, the 5-1 loss to Uzbekistan is the only disappointing result. Basically the whole year. They ended up tying the UAE as well earlier on in March, which is good. So I mean, just I'm gonna just show mine really quickly just to see if what I have. So I put Tajikistan in last place.
Yeah.
Again, speaking of, this is why we have an update video, right?
Yeah.
China in first place. Wow. Okay.
I
Wow.
mean, I
This is
think at the
good.
time that you made these predictions, I wouldn't blame you because this was like earlier in the year, and uh, I don't even think Qatar. They might have had a coach. They might have had Keros already. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
yeah. So I think these aren't your updated predictions, but I think you have good explanations for them.
You know what the problem with this group is? Every single team except for Tajikistan is on like a downward trend, like based on recent results.
Oh
Qatar
yeah,
obviously losing their coach, as we talked about. China's lost that game to Korea 3-0. Lebanon tied Palestine and tied Bangladesh. I mean, okay, I can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason why I kind of starting to have faith in Tajikistan. I'm still not like 100% convinced, but looking at
China.
their team, they have a lot of young talent. And looking at the trends, they've improved a lot over this year, 2023. So I think they definitely have a shot at getting second.
I'm thinking about what I would do, and I'm gonna kind of copy yours. I think Qatar, with the home field advantage, they'll get first, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. China, I think they're a little bit like I feel like they can be quality enough to get second and sneak by Tajikistan, and then
that's totally fair.
I think Lebanon's fourth. I think you're right on that. I mean, honestly, very, very close between China and Tajikistan, and it is the Asian Cup where anything can happen. So I agree with
Yeah.
you. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I
Um,
just haven't been impressed with China recently. And I think, you know, expectation wise, they should finish second, but we'll have to see. They're just not haven't been too impressed with them.
Absolutely. I think, Group B, did you make any changes here?
I don't think so. I think I left this one the exact same.
Um, yeah, I have the same exact. Oh no. Um,
Yeah,
oh
we do
yeah,
have the same, right? Yeah.
yeah. Um, sorry, is the screen still working for you?
Yeah, the screen's working for me.
All right, it's good now. So I accidentally clicked something, but hopefully it didn't
Oh,
click off.
no, nothing changed.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I
Yeah, I
think
don't know if there's too much to touch on in
yeah,
this one.
I agree. Group C, did you change anything?
I think I had Palestine in second, and I
Oh yeah,
switched that to switch them to third. It was more like I was worried about UAE. They didn't have a coach, and they kind of looked bad. But I think now they got Paulo Bento, and they've been getting the results now. So I think they should finish second for sure.
um, honestly, the Gulf countries are always kind of tricky when it comes to the Asian Cup. I feel like Iran has to be careful of the UAE game, and I would not be surprised if the UAE somehow like beats us. If something, I really wouldn't be surprised if something goes wrong, just because the Gulf countries are known to perform upsets in the Asian Cup. Um,
That's true.
but
I will say,
yeah,
if Iran finished second in this group, they would likely get an easier round of 16 matchup. But then they would have to face Japan in the
yeah,
quarterfinals. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
either way, Iran either gets Japan or Korea.
Um, but I would say even for, Iranians and Koreans, like it's not just Japan, it's like Japan, Australia, Saudi, Jordan, China. You know what I mean? It's like, oh boy, the
Yeah, that
path.
side of the bracket is, yeah, you have three favorites plus some strong teams.
Um, I
And
mean,
then, yeah, our side of the bracket has, if things go to plan, Korea, Iran, Uzbekistan. So
um,
pretty interesting.
I think that if Japan has to go through these games, like if they have to go through the UAE, if they have to go through Australia, I think that would be kind of fun to see them be challenged early on, and maybe they lose one of these games. You never know.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah, anything can happen.
Anything
That's
can happen. Absolutely. But I think through the first three, it's been pretty much the same. Any Group D updates from you or?
I may have had Vietnam ahead of Iraq in this group, but I changed that. I just think Iraq's in really good form right now, and they did play in the qualifiers where Iraq barely won on a last minute winner in
Yep.
the 97th minute. But I
Yeah.
think overall Iraq would probably play Japan tougher than Vietnam would. So I think that's why I put them above Vietnam.
I think that's totally fair point. And then obviously Indonesia had some disappointing results, so I think we can put them in fourth. Um,
Yeah,
Let me just take a look. I did Japan, Iraq, yeah, okay, same thing, pretty
same
much.
thing. Yeah,
Um, yeah, nothing for me changing as well. Japan has been too dominant. I don't see them losing or drawing any of these games. It's mainly
yeah,
between Iraq and Vietnam, whoever can win or tie or whatever goal differential works out for them.
right.
Um, but I think that's pretty straightforward. It should be an exciting group, though. Like the teams are pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's a fun group. Uh, and who knows? Maybe Japan drops a point or something, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, that's if they drop a point, that would be pretty impressive on the other team's side. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so we're down to the last two groups for the round for the first round of group stage. We got Group E. Anything new here? Or
Um, I think I just switched Malaysia and Bahrain. I think I had Malaysia in last. But I think they're in good form right now, and they're well coached, and they have some good attacking talent. They have a really good young player named Arif Ayman. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how to pronounce his name properly, but he's really impressed me.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think they could challenge Bahrain and Jordan for second, but I think overall Jordan has too much quality, and Jordan also have a pretty good player of their own who plays in the French league, Musa Al Tamari. So
yeah.
I think overall Jordan has the most quality out of Malaysia and Bahrain, or in comparison to Malaysia and Bahrain. But I think second place in this group is very open, and I also think these teams could challenge Korea. Maybe not for first, but they could give Korea a tough time.
In my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if Bahrain finishes second because of, as we were talking about in, recent Asian Cups, the Gulf countries just show up. I don't
Yeah,
I don't think there's really like, there's not much like analysis in my opinion, in the sense that, oh, like on paper they have talent or they're more talented than Korea in this regard or this regard. But Korea, if you remember Korea versus Bahrain in the Asian Cup, I'm sure you watched that round of 16 match. You remember
yeah.
that? The
It
overtime
took
one?
extra time,
Yeah.
yeah, to win.
That's why, in my opinion, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bahrain could somehow finish second. Jordan is also kind of dangerous. They, of course, took Vietnam to penalties. You remember that in
Yeah,
2019, which, Jordan, if you remember the 2019 draw, I believe, just looking up, they actually finished first in the group over Australia, Palestine, and Syria, which was not an easy group by any stretch of the imagination. Um,
yeah, yeah. They beat Australia, and I think that was the big result that got them to first. And
yep,
uh, but yeah, but they against Vietnam, they weren't able to replicate that sort of success, and that's why it's hard to tell. You don't know what version of these teams you're gonna get, and
yep,
I think if you're a big team like Australia or Korea, Japan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, uh, teams will play tougher against you because you have that reputation. And so yeah, that's what makes it unpredictable. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Bahrain could definitely finish second. I think any three of these three teams could finish second in this group. So yeah, it'll be a fun one.
yep. Just taking a look at my results, I went Korea, Jordan, Bahrain, Malaysia. Um, Pretty similar in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
as you
much.
said, it's hard to analyze this one. I think it's just
Yeah,
we can just enjoy it at the Asian Cup.
yeah, exactly. That'll be fun. And then we got Group F. Any changes to this one?
I may have switched Thailand and Kyrgyzstan, just based on current form.
Gotcha, gotcha.
But
Yeah,
and Kyrgyzstan actually beat Oman in the qualifiers in
yep.
November.
Ooh,
So I think just like Group E, I think second place is up for grabs here. And I think at the end of the day, Oman should finish second, but at the same time, anything can happen. And Saudi are definitely the favorites in this group.
yeah. I was like, do we think Oman will be in the same, poor form heading into the Asian Cup? And I'm not exactly sure. I don't think so, in my opinion. I think they'll be a little bit better. Um, like good enough to get second at least.
Yeah.
That's yeah, and as we talked about in the last video, Kyrgyzstan lost 4-3 to Malaysia. Um, so the fact that Malaysia put up four against them, Oman could put up a few, and they should be able to, look at that game plan and maybe adjust and maybe get some goals and get through that game. Um,
Yeah, I I do want to say Oman
yeah,
is seems to be another one of those teams where they play really well against like favorites, right? If they're the
yeah,
underdog, they seem to kind of play well. But against similar teams, they sort of I wouldn't say they struggle
yeah.
to the same degree as Lebanon, but they definitely yeah, they definitely don't perform as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And just for my quick look, I put Saudi, Oman, Thailand, Kyrgyzstan. Pretty similar again. Thailand, Kyrgyzstan could go either way, so we'll have to take a look at that.
yeah,
Um, okay, I think the one big point that we should start off with is, obviously I got or I had Uzbekistan going to the finals. You have Uzbekistan going to the semifinals. We talked about in the last video that Shmorodov is one of their top players. He got a foot injury. He's getting surgery or has gotten surgery by the time this video is out. Um, and he won't be back until game three versus Australia, the group stage, which means that, he won't be 100% for the Asian Cup at all.
yeah.
Um, in your opinion, do you still see them going to the semis? Or do you see them, losing to an Oman quickly and bowing out in the round of 16?
Personally, I think Shomurodov is good and he's like their captain, I think, and their best player.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like significantly better than the rest of the team. I think the rest of the team has a lot of solid players as well. There's another young star who plays in Russia, who's kind of emerging as, one of the most talented Uzbekistan players ever. So, and they have an all-round solid team. So I think they should still beat Oman. Um,
Yeah.
and these are my updated predictions. So
Okay.
I don't think I made too many changes, but I still think they can beat Qatar. Uh, and as you said, Shomurodov might be back for that one. So I think they can still make the semifinals. I still think they're a really good team, even without Shomurodov.
Um, I agree with you. I will say that it's time to make this change. Um,
Yeah,
I don't think without Shmorodov and the fact that Iran tied Uzbekistan 2-2 and the way it happened, obviously blowing a two-goal lead, I don't see us losing to Uzbekistan anymore. I think we're going to be ready to go. And I think we'll get through that game. If we can get through the Korea game, of course, I think that one will be the
yeah,
toughest game.
that's a
Yeah,
crucial one for both of us.
absolutely. That would be a good game, though. Hopefully it happens. We'll see. We'll see
Oh yeah.
if
Hopefully
it.
we don't lose earlier. That would
Yeah, I
be
was gonna say no. The funniest thing I was thinking about was imagine one of the teams like loses, like imagine Bahrain or something somehow beats Korea or Iran loses to UAE, and then the groups totally get mixed up. That would be kind of unfortunate. Um,
more
hopefully
chaos, I guess.
more. It would be hilarious though. I have to say, it would be so funny if like everybody just ended up on one side of the bracket, which is possible, right? Like imagine it's
Yeah.
like Iran versus Lebanon in round 16, and it's where's recurse instead of Jordan. It's like Saudi Korea. Like, could you imagine how good those round of 16 games would be, and how bad the other side would be, or not how bad, but how like
Yeah.
comparatively bad, weaker it would be.
I mean, it would guarantee like a an underdog in the final or something like that. But yeah,
But yeah,
as a neutral, that would be fun. But with a team, as a fan of Korea or and you as Iran, like that would not be ideal.
yeah, I totally agree. I think Iraq and whatever Syria, that's as much as I want. In Korea, that's as much as, I want to see.
Yeah.
Not much more competitive than that, please. But um going back to your predictions, obviously you changed a few up. Do you have anything you want to highlight? Anything you want to discuss? You can go through them if you want or whatever you feel like is necessary.
Yeah, sure. I think most of my changes were just in the round of 16 based on like which teams I picked to go through. But I
Gotcha.
think once we got to the quarterfinals and on, I think I pretty much kept the same thing. And as you can see in my final prediction, I would favor Japan over Korea, but as a fan, I have to pick Korea to win it. And I think currently, um, Japan is the best team in Asia, but compared to now from the last video, I'm a lot more confident in Korea's ability to win the Asian Cup. I think we're in really good form, and we just have. I think this is the most talented Korea side that we've ever had. So we'll have to see, you know.
So I have like a live update, which is kind of interesting. We've never had one of these, but in the
Okay.
middle of our video, the Socceroos announced their 26 player squad, and there's been a lot
Oh,
of like upheaval because there's no, I don't know these guys, but no Alex Robertson. Um, there's a lot of discipline, no Sirkati. Um, they've included Gethin Jones, and I mean, the Asian game on Twitter has said there's a number of major surprises, and the fans are pretty disappointed in some of these moves.
oh,
I think
really?
it's kind of just funny that it happened now. Um, I'm not really aware of the Australian soccer team at all, but um, it seems like the biggest problem is no Alex Robertson. That's the main.
Alex Robertson. Okay.
Let's
Um,
this is maybe Googling time. Alex
yeah,
Robertson.
yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty interesting.
he's a footballer born in 2003.
So
Uh,
I'm not really familiar with
yeah,
Alex Robertson as well, but it looks like he's a young talent. You know, he's
yeah,
20 years old. He's a Man City player who's on loan at Portsmouth. So I would imagine the Australian fans have a lot of belief and excitement surrounding his talent. But yeah, I don't know much about him.
yeah.
But it seems like they would have liked to have him in the squad.
Um, Yeah, I'm. Oh, by the way, we also have some news from last night, which is that Russia is not joining the AFC. They voted against it. So
Oh yeah, right. I did see that. Yeah.
we have that, and then from Syria, they had the. Do you know who Omar Al-Soma is?
Oh right. Yeah. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so Syria announced their squad for the Asian Cup as well, and they announced that Omar Al Soma and Al Mawas were not included in the squad. And so Al Soma is one of their best strikers and best players.
Yeah,
He was part of that, 2018 World Cup qualification run. And also Al Mawas was their number 10. He was their like attacking midfielder who kind of was the main source of their attack in terms of creativity. So those
yeah.
are two pretty big names for Syria that are going to be missing at the Asian Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you on those two. And I think, you had them in third. I believe I had them in third too. So not much of a change there, except maybe the Iran-Syria game that's potentially scheduled will get a little bit easier, which is good for Iran's sake.
Yeah, I will say that
Yeah,
Syria have a decent coach, obviously.
yeah,
And I think I checked their squad and they have like a few players that play in Argentina, which is really surprising. Um,
oh wow,
and
that's pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they naturalized an Argentine player. I don't remember what his name is, but seems like they have some connections with Argentina. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, overall, I don't think that changes anything, as you said.
yeah, I think you know, Syria was not one of the contenders right now, so losing these guys just makes them even less of a contender. Um, but that's the way, unfortunately, that's the way these 26-man rosters work out. Sometimes there's a lot of surprises. Um,
I think it could actually be good for Syria though, because
Mm,
these are kind of two older guys, and I think they might be the team might be like going through a transition and moving on to some younger players. So who knows? It could be good for them overall. Seems like a lot of teams are making these types of changes, and I think, when you look at a team like China, they're not really adapting and making those types of changes.
yeah.
And as a result, their results have been pretty poor recently.
Yeah, China for sure has, since you brought up the naturalization process, they're a country that would naturalize Brazilian players, speaking of South America.
Yeah,
But I
it
guess,
seems like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's not generating results right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that experiment was overall a failure. And
Yeah.
one positive thing is that, it seems like they're going away from those players. I don't think they called up a single Brazilian naturalized player. And I will say that one positive thing is that their coach, Alexander Yankovic,
Yeah.
it seems like he's quite familiar with the national teams in China. He coached their U19, U20, and U23 teams prior to this job, so he should be familiar with kind of the youth system. So we'll see. We'll see when they announce their 26-man roster.
Yeah. Um, as you said, we will have to wait and see, but um, you know, the friendlies are gonna start soon as well. Does you know any Korean friendlies, closed door friendlies that are planned in Qatar or around the world, or are those
Um,
been announced
a-
yet?
Apparently we decided not to. We decided to
Okay.
not schedule any friendlies, and we're just gonna hold like a training camp, um,
Okay.
which is interesting.
Um, Iran, I believe, has a closed door friendly against Indonesia. That's about all I've heard.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Um, it's, it seems like it'll be like what do you call it? Like a what do they call it? Like a practice, a serious practice, not like a game. There's a difference between like a friendly and like I forgot there's a basketball term. I forgot what it
Like
is.
an exhibition game or something.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Like a run through practice. I don't know. Anyway, there's some kind of term. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I do have a question for you for
sure.
Iran.
Yes. I'll go to my prediction tab. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Well, just as a whole, it seems like, do you think Iran is kind of going through a transitional phase now? Like in terms of some of their players and kind of moving away from older players to younger players? Do you think Iran is going through that type of change, or do you think they're sticking with some of the older guys still?
Oh, that's a really good question. I believe in just for reference, in the World Cup, I think we had the oldest team,
Oh,
if not
really?
the second, yeah. And it's because everybody's been around so many different World Cup periods. Um,
Right.
Bayram Van has been around a while. You had Rezayan has been around a long while. Anyway, Azmoun and Taremi. I think you have to go with Azmoun and Taremi, and you go with some of the old stars. But speaking of the under 17 World Cup, Iran got to the round of 16, which,
Yeah.
yeah, we beat Brazil, which was a huge accomplishment. They should be extremely proud of that. And it shows that, they do have some youth talent. Um, but to answer your question, it hasn't been like we're moving towards those youth talent immediately. It's been like, we have the talent, but let's use the older guys that are better, which is not exactly great. They brought in coach Amir Ghalanoy, who had been a long time coach in the Iranian leagues. He knows a lot of the players. He worked with Azmoun a lot at Sepahan,
Right.
which is good, which is better than, we had Skokic and what it was the other guy, Wilmots that didn't care. They didn't really understand the system. So at least we have a guy that
Yeah.
knows some of the names. Um,
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, this Asian Cup, it doesn't really we're not going to have any young players. It's going to be all the old guys, to be honest. Maybe next few months we'll start to get a little bit younger for the next World Cup qualifying period. But
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think
yeah,
because the Asian Cup is only like a year after the World Cup, yeah, there's probably not going to be too many huge changes from from at least the teams that made the World Cup from Asia. So yeah,
Yeah.
I am looking at Iran's squad though from November, and it seems like you did call up two young players.
Yeah, I think
A
who
20-year-old named Amin Hasbavi
oh yeah, yeah, Hasbury. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yep.
Javad Hossein-Nejad. I probably butchered that name, but
Okay. Hasbavi is the center back I've heard of. He's supposed to be the next star that they're trying to incorporate into the system, but they don't give him much time. Uh
yeah. And that makes sense because as a center back, it takes longer to develop. And yeah, I mean, it seems like the other guy, Hossein-Nejad, he already has two caps at age 20, so that's pretty cool.
yeah, and it was kind of, kind of interesting that at the World Cup, we put in Abdul Fazl, the left back. It was really weird. We put in a guy for only the last game of the World Cup, like with 30 minutes left.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, we actually were watching that game together for people that don't know, and that was a
Yeah.
Iran versus the USA. That was a tough time, but anyway, he was a good player, but they've gone away from him, and instead of going with the young guy, they go with a guy like Haj Safi, right, or Mohammedi that's been around for years. Um, Haj Safi's been around at least 20 years, to be honest with you. I'm not, don't think it's even far off. Uh,
Yeah.
so he's really old, but he'll be gone for sure in a few years. But he's like he plays in Greece, I believe, and he's not bad. Like he wins awards and stuff like that. He's actually okay.
Yeah, he
Um,
seems like he's still solid. Yeah, I mean, a lot of your best players like Azmoun, Taremi, uh, Godos, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They seem to be in their prime still. They're still
yeah,
like 30, 31, and Azmoun's 28. So
yeah.
I mean,
Should be
yeah,
it should be good.
they're still solid.
What's the deal with the Sun injury, by the way? Is he all good to go?
Yeah, I mean, he played over the weekend, I believe, and so I think he's fine. But yeah, I'm just praying that no one gets injured between now and the Asian Cup, because especially our center back Kim Min-jae, without him in our defense, we have no defense. So
Oh, gee,
so
okay,
he really can't get injured. He just played today or yesterday for Bayern Munich.
okay.
And yeah, he's been a starter for Bayern Munich. He's been playing like every single minute. So I just really hope he doesn't get injured. And yeah, obviously Son as our captain and best player cannot get injured. And we have a few other guys that play in Europe that yeah, they're gonna be playing. So just gotta pray for no injuries.
Yeah, I
Both
agree.
Korea, both Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, for everybody, honestly, we're trying to see the
Yeah.
best Asian Cup possible, and I think if we can have everybody ready to go, that would be fun to watch, just from like a
Yeah.
fan perspective.
Yeah,
Uh,
well said. Yeah.
I mean, we got a few minutes remaining. We got about 5 minutes left in this video. So I can take it back to your, okay. I can take it back to your predictions tab. And if you have any game you want to comment, anybody, if you want to comment on the final, Japan versus Korea, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
Yeah, I guess as a Korea fan, I'll close with a Korea focused take. Yeah, I mean, we haven't won the Asian Cup in 60 years, so it would definitely be nice to sort of end that drought. And if we were to face Japan in the final, I mean, that would be one of the biggest games in our history, I think. Just given like the rivalry and the history and the magnitude of the game. So yeah, hopefully that can happen. And hopefully this can finally be the time that we win the Asian Cup. And yeah, I think those are my final thoughts on the Asian Cup from a Korea fan's perspective. And
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on Iran's overall chances and
I think pretty much like exactly what you were saying. We haven't won it in 60, yeah, maybe a little bit less actually. Maybe it's like 50 something. But anyway, it's been a long period. It's been a long drought. Um,
yeah,
for either nation, it would be big. If they can get to the finals versus Japan, it would be a big game. I mean, obviously, I think I agree with you. Japan will be favored heavily over either team, just because of how strong they are and they're winning games and they're winning games 5-0. Like it's you know what I mean? Like they beat Canada in a friendly and it's not like you're not winning 1-0 against Canada. It's like you're scoring 4 goals, right? If not more, maybe
Yeah,
scored 5. I don't I'll look it up, but um
I mean, Japan has been the best, one of the best national teams in the world in 2023, I think.
yeah,
Um,
that's amazing. In the
so
world right now, I mean, the margin is the thing that scares me. Okay, so they beat Canada 4-1, they beat Turkey 4-2, they beat Tunisia 2-0, they beat Germany 4-1, they beat Peru 4-1, El Salvador 6-0. I mean, I don't really know how we can compete against that, to be honest with you. I mean, we have to go out there and give it our best try, but um, I'm pretty
yeah,
much in the same boat as you where we're likely to be on the same half of the draw, likely to have the same teams to get to the final. Uh, That kind of just see what happens.
yeah. And
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
one final thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think recently Korea's been picking it up a lot, and we had a 1-0 win over Saudi, 4-0 win over Tunisia, 6-0 over Vietnam, 5-0 over Singapore, and 3-0 over China. And so I really think we've been convincingly winning against Asian opponents. But the difference is that Japan has been playing a lot of tougher opponents and winning by a lot. So yeah, we'll have
yeah,
to see. But I think almost everyone knows that Japan are the favorites, and that can put sort of an extra added pressure on Japan. So yeah, there's just so many different factors, and I'm just really excited to watch this Asian Cup.
yep. I agree with you, and our time is almost up. So I think thank you for everything. I appreciate your updated predictions. I think it'll
Yeah,
be an exciting Asian Cup, and look forward to making more videos with you as the cup progresses.
yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me, and yeah, I
Of
can't wait to be in Qatar with you and watch these games.
Of course, yeah, that's the big update. We are actually going to go to these games, so we'll have a real, first person view of a lot of these games. We'll be going to 10 games, mostly Iranian games and Korean games, and a few Japanese games to see these teams up close. Should be fun. I look forward to it as well. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
but Aaron, thank you again for your time and appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.